that show volume? What is that? Oh, what is this? Oh, no, we gotta hide that. Oh, we can go somewhere else. Top.
I talked to an art dealer that's doing $1 million a year with a 1,500 person email list. I think the algorithm is getting so good at serving niche content to people who consume niche content. You have to be okay with something that has, 19 views.
Yeah, and so you even said this at a presentation years ago. I remember you're like, man, this is my big strategy. Do shit.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
I get a disproportionate amount of attention because what I have done, not because what I'm saying is necessarily novel. The frame in which people consume content is the messenger. Like, the messenger is inextricably linked with what they are consuming. You don't want to make a 45-minute video if you can say it in 5. And so if you can just get to the point faster, it's about value per second, not seconds of value.
How did you go from having all this knowledge and throwing it up on spreadsheets that no one can understand to being able to present the ideas to where now millions of people in the country learn from you as their teacher?
So the process that I outlined in terms of making content better and finding ads that worked is probably the single most repeated process I have in my life, which is I do a
And so, dude, thank you so much for being here. I know, I don't know if you know this, bro, but I've been trying to make this moment happen for 3.5 years. And I call it pleasantly persistent, but I just keep asking, man. So thank you for making it happen.
No, thank you for pleasantly being persistent.
Yeah, man.
Brother.
Yeah, thank you. I did it for you, bro. It's for you. Yes, sir. So here's the deal. Is your chair shaking right now, bro? Or is that me?
I think it's the walking.
Oh, okay, got it. I was like, dude, is something wrong with me? Fuck. All right, so in the past 40 months, Alex, you talked about you built a 7.8 million fan audience across all these platforms, 2 billion impressions, 35,000 pieces of content. You spent $4 million across that time period. And I was thinking that the thing we could do to bring the most impact today is everybody here wants to build a powerful personal brand. They want to grow their business. And can you first, before we get into this, all the tactics, we have so many things to share with you guys today, but can you first define personal brand and why you think it's so important for everyone?
So I think personal brand is just the things that you choose to associate with. And so you have ideals, some sort of business that you want to associate with, people that you want to associate with, and it's just curating the things that just as much what you want to be seen and thought of with as much as what you don't. And I think one of the big things that happens early on is we want to say yes to everything, which is kind of tough because sometimes you're like, I don't really like this person that is asking me to be on their podcast. It's like, well, everyone's going to associate you whether you like it or not. And so fundamentally, like, brain doesn't see in negatives, it only sees in positives. As I say, don't think about a pink elephant. We all still think about pink elephants, right? And so you can't like unbrand. You can only positively pair things. You can't dispair. And so it's really by avoiding things, kind of like pruning a garden, that you can make a really nice brand. So a lot of branding is about choosing everything you're not going to associate with and then seeing what's left. And then that becomes the brand that becomes purer and stronger. And so I think, especially as everyone here, what I would dissuade you from doing is, one, talking about things that you haven't done or pretending to. And that's like 95% of people here. Not you, everyone else. And the other, so one is pretending to be something that you're not. Because that's when a lot of people are like, man, I have imposter syndrome. It's like, you have imposter syndrome because you're lying.
Yeah.
You're pretending to be something that you're not. If you don't pretend to be something you're not, if you state the facts, you tell the truth, there's nothing to feel like you're an imposter about. If you made 5,000 dials and you made this many mortgage sales, that's what happened. Someone can hate you or love you, but you stated the facts and told the truth. And so I think that has always been our North Star for everything we do is, and if that's not compelling, then make the truth more compelling. Like, do more shit. And then when you talk about it, people will be like, wow, he made 35,000 pieces of content. Okay, then maybe I'll listen to it because of that work, independent of whatever output happened. So if I had 0 people.
Oh, wait, I wasn't even supposed to do that. My bad. Who can we listen to? can get on my Jimmy Rohn for an hour. Where the hell is my Jimmy? Oh, Bobby Proc. Wow, that's 2 hours? I don't know. Let me see if they got some other ones.
And that perfection is within us. So the trick is figuring
Big
out
Bob
how to express
Proctor.
it in a greater way.
Targets are good for the soul. Yours and mine.
No,
You
I'm
gotta
not.
have a real good
I'm not.
goal. Gotta
I
have
do
something
too.
you're really going after that you really want.
Dude, Jimmy. I can't do. Damn, a 3 hour. I probably heard it too. Where's my favorite Jim Rohn video? I've heard every single Jim Rohn video, actually. We'll go here.
Thank you.
Wait, he was old here. Nah, we want young Jimmy.
Thank you very much. Wow, thank you. Thank you. All right.
No, we'll do this.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Wow. Save some for the end. How many of you have never seen me before? This is your first time. Wow, everybody. So I'm not so famous after all. Anyway, nice to have all of you here. It's a long journey here for me from the farms of southern Idaho, where I grew up, to, next door to Disneyland, with all the spotlights and cameras and all of you here. It's just a bit much. It's unbelievable. I did my first for-pay seminar in 1963 at the Beverly Hilton Hotel in Beverly Hills, California, called Adventures in Achievement. So this now makes my year number 41. So, a lot of years. And my big purpose now is to keep my journey going. I just got back from Argentina last week, and next week I go to Venezuela. Toward the end of the month, back to Italy and Europe. A little later in the year, Asia, South Africa, and Australia, and who knows where else. So from my travels around the world, I just really dropped by to say hello and share some ideas. But I'm thankful for the opportunity to share these ideas one more time. The ideas I want to share with you so dramatically changed my life. I'm always excited about the opportunity to share them, one more time. I quit school at age 19, unfortunately. My reasoning was, I'm smart enough to get a job. How much smarter do you need to be? And with that bit of shallow thinking, I quit school at age 19. A little while later, I went to work. A little while later, got married, started this little family, and I'm out there working hard, doing the best I could. But falling a little bit behind every year. Finally, the creditors once in a while are starting to call, saying, you told us the check was in the mail. And I'm embarrassed by that. And then I'm sure some of you, if you've listened to my cassette tapes or the CDs or heard some of my material, the Girl Scout story finally occurred, age 25. I hear this knock on the door.
Jimmy.
I go to the door, and there's this Girl Scout about this tall.
Calm down.
Where were you last spring? Asleep?
No.
Didn't you read the books? Did you break your hoe? Let me give you 7 key points to the law of sowing and reaping.
Let's tick right down through the
I
list of...
think this is it. I've seen this 50 times.
or whatever. Your family. It's nice to see all of you. I want to thank you for coming tonight. There's a lot of places you
It's
can
my
be
favorite
besides
one.
attending a seminar. Home with your family or visiting friends or having a party or whatever. But you've chosen to be here tonight, and I appreciate that very much.
I appreciate that.
I keenly feel two responsibilities, and I'm sure you can guess what those are. Number one is to make sure you get your money's worth, right, when you shell out your hard-earned cash. And I know the money for the seminar is not the end of the money, right? By the time you take your family out to dinner and hire a babysitter and put gasoline in your car, right, the tab keeps going up. And by the time you add it all up, it's fairly substantial. And when you spend your hard-earned cash, you want to make sure you get your money's worth. So hopefully by the time we finish tonight, you'll have your money's worth. But I think I have a bigger responsibility, and that is to make sure you get your time's worth.
Your time's worth.
And I say that because time is more valuable than money.
Time
You can
is
get
money.
more money, right, but you can't get more time. When you spend a day, you've got one less day to spend. So if somebody has the audacity to ask you to spend one of your evenings, they darn well better have something important, right? An evening is a chunk of your life. I wouldn't waste one of my evenings for anybody. Not anymore, once I discovered how valuable they were. So hopefully by the time we finish tonight, you'll have your time's worth, as well as your money's worth.
As well as
Okay.
your money's worth.
We're going to take a break
Wait.
about halfway.
Oh,
Not just for
I
the
might have to
smokers,
turn that
but
off.
for everybody. We can't sit here right 3 hours straight. That would be asking a little bit too much. Somebody once said, the mind can only absorb what the seat can endure.
Damn.
And I think that's true. So we're not going to make you endure too long before we take a break along about midway. We'll stretch a little bit, and then we'll come back and we'll finish up. Does everybody have note paper? Some note paper. If you don't have some, borrow from your neighbor.
It is.
Make sure you've got something to take notes on. This is a work session tonight, okay? I have not come to
is.
entertain you. As you can tell by my opening joke, right? I wouldn't make it in Las Vegas. We don't have a dog and pony show tonight, but we've got some ideas to share. Like to have you capture them. Also, if there's several
Okay.
members of one family, my suggestion is all of you take notes. One will capture what the other one might miss, and that way you'll come up with a more complete set. I think you'll be happier about
Oh,
that.
they pinned something.
Okay, hopefully everybody can find a seat tonight. It's kind of jammed in here. Do we have any teenagers? Teenagers, 19 years or younger, would you stand up? No cheating on this now. 19 years or younger, stand up wherever you are.
Bro,
all over the
look.
audience.
4 years
Let's give them a
old.
hand. Hey, nice to see you.
Bro, you're not 19.
Thank you very much. I'm always flattered when the kids come. I've got a good story for you. 2 little boys in school. One was very bright, the other one wasn't very bright. Teacher gave a test one day, 10 questions. And she's looking at the papers. To her surprise, the little boy who isn't very bright has answered 9 of the 10 questions. Perfect. And the teacher thought, well, that can't be right. He's not that smart. So she looked at the other paper. The little boy who was very bright, he had answered 9 of the 10 questions perfect. The teacher thought, well, something's wrong. And sure enough, the answers to the 10th question was the problem. The little boy who was very bright, when he got to the 10th question, he didn't know the answer, and he was running out of time, so he just wrote down, I don't know the answer to this one. Turned his paper in. Teacher looked at the other paper, little boy who wasn't too bright, and he had answered the 10th question, I don't know either. And turned his in.
Jimmy Rohn. He's a stand-up.
Which means don't cheat, I guess, right? It
He's
never
a
works
stand-up
out well.
comedian.
Okay.
Jimmy, you're so funny.
The ideas I want to share with you tonight, I started listening to at age
Oh, you know
25.
what?
At a time in my life when I needed some additional ideas to help get my life straightened out and headed in a little better direction. I got off to a pretty good start up in Idaho farm country, where I was raised, southwestern corner of Idaho, little community of 4,000 or 5,000 people. In fact, my parents still live in the same little community where I was raised. I was just up to visit them last week, and they're doing extremely well. My father's 79, my mother's 73, and they're still very busy, very healthy, got all kinds of projects going, unbelievable. Land development, they're making money. I can't believe them. They've been a great example for me. They bought some property not long ago, signed up for a 30-year loan. I got to be impressed. I was up to visit them last year. We had a big party one evening, lasted till about 2 o'clock in the morning, celebrating. And it was time to celebrate. My parents had bought gold at 125, and they were cashing in a big share of it at 680. And if you get to buy at 125, cash in at 680, you got to celebrate. So celebrate we did. But anyway, that's where I got started. I went to high school and graduated. I went to college for a year and a half, and I quit. Decided I was smart enough, and got me a job and went to work to see if I could make all of my ambitions come true. A couple of years later, I met a very beautiful young lady, and I put probably my finest sales presentation on her. I promised her wealth and fame and fortune and world travel and all those good things. I said it will probably be the finest decision of your life to marry me. And she bought that story, fortunately for me. And we got married, and I'm continuing to work hard to see if I can't make all these dreams and promises come true.
In 2014.
Well, 2 or 3 years after I'd gotten married, it didn't look like my new bride had made such a wise decision.
2014.
I'm now starting to struggle. I'm not destitute, but it isn't working quite like I had promised. I'm looking at my paycheck on Friday, $57. And that isn't quite what I'd promised. And already I had fallen into the someday honey routine with my wife.
I'm about to be an art dealer.
Right? Someday, honey, you won't have to sit on this old furniture. Someday, honey, you'll have a car of your own. I had already someday honeyed myself into trouble.
Someday, honey.
Well, now I'm wondering, what should I do? I'm struggling. I'm behind. Money's one of my problems. I got far too much month at the end of the money, if you've ever had that problem. I remember one time losing a $10 bill, and I was physically ill for 2 days.
I see you, brother.
Over $10. And of course, my friends tried to be cheerful, right? They said, look, maybe some poor person that needed it found it. But I'm willing to admit to you that that really didn't help. At age 25, benevolence had not yet seized me. You know, I'm the poor person that needs to find $10, not lose $10. But that's where I was. I thought, well, maybe I should go back to school. I've got 1 year of college, doesn't look that good on an application. But I'm 25, I'm married, now my family's starting. I'm already working.
And then his last name is
and,
R-O-H.
Going back to school seemed like kind of a tough decision. But that's where I was at that time in my life, wondering what I should do to really turn it around and make the promises all come true. Well, at age 25, good fortune came my way. And sometimes it's a little difficult to describe good fortune. Why do unique things happen to you when they do? I don't know. Part of that's a mystery to me. One of my friends says, well, things don't just happen. They happen just.
They happen just.
Maybe that's it. I don't know. But my good fortune was, at age 25, I met a very remarkable man. He was a businessman. He was wealthy. Apparently looked very happy, prosperous to me when I met him. And my good fortune was, a few months after I met this unique man, his name was Mr. Schoaf, Mr. Earl Schoaf.
Earl Schoaf.
He hired me, gave me a job, and I went to work for him. And I spent the next 5 years working for him. And during that 5-year period, Mr. Schoaf shared with me his ideas that helped to change my life. Unfortunately, at the end of that 5 years, Mr. Schoaf died. But I did get to spend 5 years with this very remarkable man. And the best thing he gave me during that period of time was not a job. The best thing he gave me was the benefit of his philosophy.
It's coming out great. Appreciate it,
How to be wealthy, how to be happy. And his ideas worked for me. Then about 16, 17 years ago, I was living in Beverly Hills. And I was going through all the notes that I'd gathered up during that period. In fact, that's one of the major things Mr. Shove taught me. Take good notes. Don't miss anything.
For this,
don't make your mind a filing cabinet trying to remember
like
everything.
this.
Jot it down. If you hear a good sermon, take notes. If you read a good book, take notes. If you hear something good, jot it down. If you think something good, put it on paper.
I just gotta
Then you can go over it. Repetition is the mother of skill.
put them together
And someday those ideas, if you repeat them
Put the
often
whole
enough,
thing
they'll take root
together.
and start to grow.
in Photoshop.
And someday they'll show up in your bank account, and your personality, and your language, and your dress, and
Just
your
have
lifestyle.
it completely already,
So
so
he
I
got
don't
me
have to
hooked on
keep
taking
going
notes,
over it.
and I did during that time, and I've taken them now
Have it
all these
completely
years.
done, and then I'll
And on this
be
particular
able to
day,
print
I
them
was
out
going through all
faster.
those journals, and the idea occurred to me, why don't I share this with other people? I've used it to build some of my other companies, but I'd never shared it with the public. And I thought, well, that'd be an intriguing idea. See if I could put into words my feelings and my ideas that help me to make
and all
major
the pics.
changes.
They're in all the pics.
So I thought,
Go
well, I might as
Braves.
well try
What's
it.
up,
So I
Maddox?
put the material together that I thought was the most important. And 17
I'm
years ago,
Ozuna from the Braves.
at the Beverly Hilton Hotel in Beverly
I'm
Hills, a few
Ozuna
blocks
from
from
the
where I
Braves.
lived, I gave my first seminar. And fortunately, tonight, you are not in on my first seminar.
Ozuna from the Braves.
I struggled. It really wasn't quite that good. In fact, I'm willing to admit now it was so bad. If I hadn't have been conducting it, I'd have gone home. Right? That's how bad it was. But when you're doing them, it's hard to leave. But anyway, I struggled through it, did the best I could, and decided, well, I'll try it again, see if I get any better. Sure enough, I got a little more comfortable with making the presentation. And then I got invited other places to share my story and my ideas. And little by little, it started to grow. And finally, now it's become my major enterprise. I've arranged my other business affairs so I can spend most of my time now doing what I really like to do, and that's share ideas, talk about things that matter with people who care.
In all the pics.
And now the seminar's been translated in several languages, so I get to travel to other countries and share my feelings and my ideas with other people around the world. And tonight, I find myself in Anaheim, and I'm pleased to be here. What I would like to do is to share with you what I think made the major difference for me. I don't claim to have all the answers
they all got,
for doing well, but I've got some that worked for me. And what I would like to do is pass it along to you. That's the purpose of the seminar tonight, for you to pay your money and spend some of your time to be here, is to see what you think of my ideas. Just capture them, take them home, and edit them as much as you wish. Throw out what you don't like, try what you do like, and see what happens. But give me your attention for the next little while, and let's go through the ideas that I think the major things that help me to really make the changes in my life. Okay. Let me give you the table of contents first. I'm going to cover 5 subjects. Let me give you those 5, and then we'll come back and take them one at a time and we'll go through them. Okay, the first subject is personal development.
Personal development.
Which is the best place to start, right? If you don't start there, nothing much is going to happen. Here's the big challenge of life. You can have more than you've got because you can become more than you are. That's the challenge.
You hear that?
And of course, the other side of the coin reads, unless you change how you are, you'll always have what you got. I have found in my experience that income does not far exceed personal development. Now, sometimes income takes a lucky jump, but sure enough, unless you grow out where it is, it'll usually come back where you are. Life has strange ways. If somebody hands you $1 million, best you become a millionaire quickly.
Best you become a millionaire.
So you get to keep the money.
Or you're
Otherwise, sure enough, it'll disappear. Somebody once said, if you took all the money in the world, divided it up equally among everybody, it would soon all be back in the same pockets.
You hear that?
Incredible.
That's not cap.
Success is something you attract, not something you pursue. Success is looking for a good place to stay. So instead of going after it, you work on yourself. Personal development. See, the major question to ask on the job is not what are you getting. The major question to ask on the job is what are you becoming? See, the big question is not what am I getting paid here. The big question is what am I becoming here?
Because true happiness is not contained in what you get. Happiness is contained in what you
We're going to try to
become.
take our time with these.
So that's our major
little
subject for tonight, personal development.
books.
Of all the assignments Mr. Schoaf gave me at age 25, this was probably the most difficult. In fact, I'm still working on this one. I think it's an unending challenge to see what you can become. The next subject is called Basic Laws. And it's good to study the basics. And I call these basics primarily because they come from the Bible. Now, I'm not a theologian or a minister, and that'll be apparent. But Mr. Schoaf taught me that the Bible was a good textbook for ideas and stories and success equations, how to live the better life. I found out that was true. He also taught me that the Bible is as practical as it is spiritual, and I found out that's true.
And I found out that's true.
If you look at your bank account and your income and you're not happy, there's several places in the Bible to check to see what the heck's wrong so you can make the changes. And we're going to cover some of those tonight, called basics. Okay, the next subject is my favorite, setting goals. Mr. Schoaf taught me how to set goals. What a favor that was. One morning at breakfast, shortly after I met him, he said, Jim, let me see your current list of goals, and let's go over them and talk about them. He said, maybe that's the best way I can help you get a better direction started. And I said,
what goals?
I don't have a list. He said, well, is it out in the car or home somewhere? I said, no, sir. I don't have a list anywhere. He said, well, young man, that's where we got to start. He said, I can tell you right now, if you don't have a list of your goals with you, he said, I can guess your bank balance within a few $100s.
Damn.
Which he did. And that got my attention. I said, you mean my bank balance would change if I had a list of goals? He said, drastically. That day, I became a willing student how to set goals. And sure enough, learning how to set goals changed my life. And I often wondered why no one had ever taught me how to set goals up until age 25. I went to high school, but if they offered it, I missed it.
I missed it.
I went to college for a year, never heard it. I worked for Sears.
I worked for Sears.
Really? And to my knowledge, Sears never taught me.
Alberto? Yeah.
How to set goals. So here I am, age 25, married, my family starting, I've been to college, I'm working,
Alberto
and I still don't know how to
Vargas is
set
my
goals.
uncle.
But fortunately, when I was 25, I met the man who taught me how, and it revolutionized my whole life. Economically, socially, personally, it's incredible.
Gil
So I want to
Elgren
share with you tonight
is
what
my-
Mr. Schoaf
my
shared
other
with me how to
uncle.
set goals. It can be a life changer. Okay.
Alberto Vargas is
The
one
next
of my
subject is the negative part of the seminar. Life is part negative, so we got to talk about the negative. And this subject is called diseases
young Gil Elgren is my other
of
uncle.
attitude.
Shouts out to Alberto
Diseases of
Vargas.
attitude.
He was
There's a lot of things that can wreck your chances to do well. We live in a rather dangerous world, so you got to be not only wise, you got to be careful.
and Norman Rockwell is
Now,
my,
attitude diseases
other-
are just as
other
bad
uncle.
as physical diseases, right? High blood pressure, heart
Shouts
trouble.
out
I mean,
to
a lot
Norman.
of things lace your chances to do well. So you've got to be careful.
What do you call
And
that?
attitude
Great
diseases are
uncle?
deadly. I mean, they'll destroy all the good things you start. Okay? So we'll go through those attitude diseases, how to spot them, how to look for them, what they are, and the cure. And I'm a pro on these because I've had them all, so I can give you excellent advice on these. Now, the last subject we're going to consider tonight is called the day that turns your life around. The day that turns your life around. And under this subject, we're going to talk about the emotions that can change your life. Human beings are emotional creatures, and emotions are powerful for life change. Now, of course, emotions are so powerful they can go either way on you. Emotions can either build or destroy. So you really have to employ emotions properly. We call civilization the intelligent management of human emotions. If you can intelligently apply your emotions in the right direction, no telling what can happen. Could turn your life around one day would be sufficient. So we'll talk about those. Okay. Now that's a lot to cover in one evening, but we'll keep at it here and see if we can't get it all done. I'd like to have you now jot down the theme of the seminar. Every seminar should have a theme, I guess. We've got one. It's on some of our literature if you happen to notice it, but if you didn't, for your notes, here it is. The theme of the seminar goes like this: the major key to your better future
Is you.
is you. That's the theme of our seminar tonight. The major key to your better future is you. And I'd like to have you underline two words just to give it some added punch. Underline the word major and the word you, so that it reads, the major key to your better future is you. Now, my first suggestion is transfer this to a card or something where you can put it up, where you can see it every day. Preferably put it up where you can see it at the beginning of the day, before you go off to put the day together. This is a good phrase just to glance at, to keep in mind as you're putting the day together. It's called the silent seminar. If you'll just let this talk to you during the day, I found it to be tremendously helpful. The major key to your better future is you. For a big share of my life now, I didn't have this one quite figured out, among a lot of things I didn't have quite figured out. Many things used to puzzle me back in those early days. I used to wonder why two people could work for the same company, one make twice as much money. Now, see, that used to puzzle me. And maybe they were the same age, graduated from the same school, live in the same community, work for the same company, with the same products and the same services. They've got the same traffic, the same problems, and one makes $1,000 a month, the other one makes $2,000 a month. Now, that was my puzzling question. Why would this long list be the same and the money twice as much? I asked, what's the difference between $1,000 a month and $2,000 a month? And I don't mean $1,000 a month, right? I could figure that out. But what makes the difference? Why would one person do twice as well, 3 times as well? Speaking economically. Now, I know there's more than one way to do well. I understand that. But in this little narrow area called compensation, what's the difference? Well, back then, with my faulty thinking, I'm trying to reason it out. I thought, well, maybe time makes some of the difference, right? Some people do better because they have more time.
Harold.
I used to say, Harold ought to be able to do well. He's got a lot of time. If I had all of Harold's time, I could do well. Now, that's got to be dumb, right? Number one, you can't get somebody else's time. A guy says to me one time, he says, you know, if I had some extra time, I could make some extra money. I said, then forget it. There isn't any extra time. Hey, when the clock strikes 12 midnight, that about wraps it up, right? I mean, you can look around the gongs there for a little more, but it's over. You say to the guy, what are you doing? He says, I'm looking for extra time. See, they'll come and take you away, right? There isn't any more time. Now, if you can't get more time, which you can't, what could you get more of that would make a difference in economic results? And here's the key word. Make it a part of your notes. We're going to consider it tonight. The word is value. And I have a little phrase for your notes. Value makes the difference in results. Value makes the difference. You can't get more time, but you can create more value. Now, here's the first lesson of economics. Everybody should learn it from the time they're old enough to understand what a dollar means, how to earn one, how to get one, how to keep one, what to do with it. First lesson of economics. We primarily get paid for value. That's lesson 1. Bringing value to the marketplace, that's how you get paid. You don't get paid for the time. I know it takes time to bring value to the marketplace, but you get paid for the value, not the time. Now, since that's true, here's one of the key questions of the evening. Is it possible to become twice as valuable at the marketplace and make twice as much money in the same time? Could you become 3 times as valuable? Make 3 times as much money in the same time? Is that possible? The answer is yes, if. And it's always if, right? Life is known as the big if. Harry Truman once said, life is iffy. How true.
Life is.
And here's the big if we're going to consider it tonight. It's possible to do much better at the marketplace if you go to work primarily on yourself. And that's the theme of our seminar tonight. Learning to work primarily on yourself. People have asked me for the last 24 years, how do you develop an above average income? And the answer is, become an above average person.
Wow.
Develop an above average handshake. Some people want to be successful, they don't even work on their handshake. As easy as that would be to start on. They let it slide, they don't understand. Develop an above average smile. Develop an above average excitement. Develop an above average interest in other people. Develop an above average intensity to win. See, that'll change everything. Probably one of the most frustrating experiences in life is looking for an above average job with above average pay without becoming an above average person. It's called frustration. And Mr. Schoaf gave me probably the greatest clue he gave me when I first met him. He said, Jim, if you want to be wealthy and happy the rest of your life, just learn this lesson well. He said, learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. That was it. The beginning of the philosophy that helped to change my life. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. When he said that, I suddenly understood why I was broke. I was a hard worker on my job. If anybody would have asked me, age 25, Mr. Rohn, are you a hard worker? I'd have said, yes, I'm a hard worker. Check my record. I work as hard as anybody. And that was true. I was a hard worker. I really was. But see, that was my problem. I was working hard on my job, but I wasn't working hard on myself. And that was my reason for lack of progress. Some people look for more money, but they look for it in the wrong direction. The guy says, I need more money, I'm going to go work on my boss. Well, number one, bosses are notorious. They do not play fast and loose with the company till. I've never seen a boss get excited and triple somebody's wages, right? I mean, they don't behave in such an irrational manner. So see, that's not what you work on. Some people say, well, I'll go on strike for more. Well, big deal. The problem with that game is, once you start it, it's never over. You'll always have to strike. And I'll tell you what you get by demand. Little bitty pieces.
Board's been working on the same. Oh, bro.
And now inflation beats that demand. Right? The guy demands 10%. Inflation's 12. He's behind 2. Right? I mean, it never ends. So see, that's not the key to success. Maybe survival, but not success. The guy in sales says, I've got it. I'll get me some of those books that teach you the tricky sales. And I'll go leap upon my prospects, dazzle them with my sales footwork, grab their money before they know what's happened. Well, you can play those kind of tricks if you want to. My observation shows the last 24 years, you wind up at the bottom of the economic ladder, not the top. See, it's not what you get by tricks. It's not what you get by demand. It's what you get by performance that counts. So that's one of the key phrases of the evening. It's performance that counts. And I discovered this. Performance comes from inside, not outside. For a share of my life, I'm looking for the answers to do well outside. Found out they were inside. Then Mr. Schoaf gave me probably one of the most important clues among so many things he taught me. But this was in those early days. Mr. Schoaf was very kind, but he was also very abrupt. And he had these interesting questions to ask. I'm giving him a little rundown one day on how things hadn't worked out for me. He said, Mr. Rohn, I've got the answer for you if you will listen carefully. And listen carefully, I did, that day and for the next 5 years. If somebody's wealthy and happy, you gotta listen. He said, Jim, I've only known you a short time. But he said, it's already my honest opinion that for things to change for you, you've got to change.
That seems dark.
That wasn't quite the answer I was looking for. But that's the answer he gave me, and I pass it along to you on this warm summer evening in Anaheim, California.
Oh, I know how to make it.
1981. For things to change for you, you've got to change. Otherwise, it isn't going to change. Before I met Mr. Shove, I used to say, I sure hope things will change. Right? That seemed to be my only hope. If it isn't going to change, I'm in serious trouble. And then I discovered it isn't going to change, so I'm in serious trouble.
Whimsy.
See, I can tell you what the 80s are going to be like. You have dropped into the right place. I did a seminar one time for Standard Oil executives and management in Honolulu.
Well, the name Whimsy.
And we're having a conference one day on this big conference table. And one of them said to me, Mr. Rohn, you know some fairly important people halfway around the world. What do you think the 80s are going to be like?
Ricks, what up, brother?
I said, gentlemen, I do know the right people. I can tell you.
I'm chilling.
So they all listened very carefully.
I am chilling.
And I said, gentlemen, based on my wide experience, I can really honestly say to you, in my opinion, in the 80s,
I mean,
it's
I just been lazy
be
with this one.
about like it's always been. Aren't you glad you came? That's inside. I don't pass that around just everywhere. Now, of course, I said that to make a point, but I also said it because it's accurate. It's going to be about like it's always been.
TikTok.
It isn't going to change.
It's going to be about...
The tide comes in, and then what? It goes out for 6,500 years that we know of, recorded history, and probably long before that. So it is not going to change.
A whole nother story.
It gets light, and then what?
Looks fire. Appreciate it,
It turns dark. 6,500 years.
Amazing.
See, it's not likely to change.
Appreciate it.
And we're not to be startled by that.
We're not to be startled.
And if the sun goes down, the guy says, what's happened? What's happened?
I'm trying to
it means
work
he hasn't
on,
been here long, I guess, right? It always goes down about
I mean,
this
is
time.
my tipsy.
The guy says, well, I don't like that arrangement. Well, you got to talk to somebody besides me, right? It gets light, then it turns dark.
My bottle of tipsy whiskey.
In rotation, the next season after fall is what?
I'm going to put together another...
Winter. Pray tell, how often does winter follow fall? Every year regularly for the last 6,500 that we know of. See, it is not going to change.
Series ideas.
Now, some winters are long, and some are short, and some are hard, and some are easy, but they always come right after falls. It isn't going to change.
But if you remember my old stuff, a bunch of girls with alcohol.
Sometimes you can figure it out. Sometimes there's no way to figure it out.
Hands sturdy
Sometimes
than
it goes well.
Ricks.
Sometimes it gets in a knot.
It's probably because I just
Sometimes it sails along.
So
Sometimes it gets in reverse. See, that's not going to change.
In practice.
The last 6,000 years reads like this. Opportunity mixed with difficulty. That's how it reads. It isn't going to change.
It isn't going to change.
The man says, well, if it isn't going to change, how will my life ever change? Answer, when you change.
Brother.
And whether I'm talking to high school kids or business executives, my message is always the same. And it goes like this. The only way it gets better for you is when you get better. Let me give you the 4 major lessons in life to learn. Here's 4 majors. It's good to study the majors.
That seems like it's
in our weekend seminar we teach. Some people don't do well because they major in minor things. You've got to be on the lookout. At the end of every week, end of every month, you've got to check, make sure you're not spending major time on minor things. Okay, we go through that whole series. Majors and minors.
Yeah. The throwback pieces with the girls with the alcohol.
Now, let me give you 2 phrases before we get to the 4 majors. This will set it up and you'll see where I'm going. 2 key phrases for your notes.
What's up, Zach? I see you, brother.
Here's the first one.
20K a month, Zach.
Life and business is like the changing seasons.
Stopping in. Bros are R34
That's the first
artists.
phrase. Life and business is like the changing seasons. One of the best ways to describe life, it's like the seasons. Frank Sinatra sings, life is like the seasons. Now here's the second phrase. Very important. You cannot change the seasons, but you can change yourself. You can't change the seasons, but you can change yourself. And see, that's how life gets better for you.
Has been
Not
following
by
for
chance,
1 year, 3 months. Look
but
at you,
by
Ricks.
change.
Look at you, 1 year, 3 months.
Now here's the
When
4
was
major
that?
lessons in life to learn.
Is that
I've got my first
on
book finished.
Twitch?
Came out a couple of weeks
Wow.
ago. This is in it. The 4 major lessons in life to learn. Here they are. Number 1,
that was probably right
learn
when
how
I
to
moved
handle the
Kick.
winters. That's lesson 1.
Had to be.
They come right after falls with regularity. Some are long and some are short and some are hard and some are easy, but they keep coming. You must learn to handle the nights. They come right after days. You must learn to handle difficulty. It comes right after opportunity. You must learn to handle recessions. They always follow progressions for the last 6,000. See, it isn't going to change. The lesson you must learn is how to handle it. And there's all kinds of winters, right?
Don't think I missed
The
a
winter
lot.
when you
You
can't
have
figure
not,
it
Zach.
out. The winter when it all goes smash.
You see-
the
you saw
winter
it?
when
You
it
peeked
turns
it?
belly up. The
Zach,
winter
good
when
eyes.
it won't work,
Zach,
when you've
you
run out of
have not
money
missed
and
a
you've got a
lot.
broken heart. See, those are
Even
winter
my
times.
shipping streams. So yeah.
There's all kinds. Economic
on 'em all.
winters. Social winters.
Yeah, when I don't go
personal
live on-
winters.
what's my
when
normal
your heart
days?
is smashed in
Wednesday,
1,000 pieces.
Friday and
And
Sunday.
the nights are unusually long. Your prayers seem to go no higher
I
than your
normally
head.
miss like 1 or
It's
2 of
wintertime.
those. So I rarely do all
Streisand
3
sings,
right now.
It used to be so natural to talk about forever, but used to be's don't count anymore. They just lay on the
Until
floor
I start a new piece
till
out,
we sweep them away.
you know, it'll be
You
every
don't
now and
sing
then.
me love songs, and you don't say you need me, and you don't bring me flowers
That's hard. What's up,
anymore.
Dave On?
A song of winter. But see, the disappointments come. Those are normal. That's part of life. But the question is, how do you handle it?
When you first
How do you handle
popped
the
up,
coming
I
winters and the
think on
disappointments and the
Kick and
downtimes?
Twitch.
Well,
Okay, Rick.
you can't get rid of
It might
January
have
by
been,
tearing it off the calendar.
it might have been Kick then. Because
But here's what you can do.
I was
you can
already
get
mad at,
stronger, you can get wiser,
We was
and you
already
can
out of
get
there.
better. The
I'm
winters
just on
won't
there
change,
because
but you can.
on there right now
And
because
that's
I
how
can't
life changes for you.
multi-stream.
See, before
on
I
Kick
understood when it
and,
was winter, I used to wish it was summer.
Twitch at the
I
same
didn't
time.
understand.
But I'm gonna turn.
When it was hard, I
this
used to wish it was
Twitch off.
easy. I didn't know. And then Mr. Schoaf gave me a part of his very unique
In
philosophy
like-
when he said, don't wish it was easier,
In like 10
wish
minutes.
you were better.
I'm gonna turn, and then I'm gonna go turn
See,
on my.
that triggered my
Kick
whole life
stream.
change. Don't wish for less problems. Wish for more skills. Don't wish
With
for
the
less
regular music.
challenge.
With my
wish
regular
for
music.
more wisdom. That's the key. So that's
Natural
lesson 1.
perky all
Learn how to
day.
handle the winters. Here's lesson 2. Learn how to take advantage of the spring. That's the second one.
On your.
Spring is called opportunity.
chat.
And spring follows winter.
Oh
what a
no,
great place
this
for
is
it. If you
that's
were going to put it
just
somewhere, that'd be the place to put it.
my.
right after
This
winter.
is a scarf. This is just a
And pray
scarf
tell, how often
that-
does spring follow winter?
that I started. You remember I was wearing the
Every
other
year with
different,
regularity, 6,000. You can almost count on it.
I just got a bunch of different ones.
See, opportunity always
that I,
comes.
wear.
Days follow nights. Isn't that terrific?
It's just a bunch of different
Opportunity
ones that I
follows
wear now.
difficulty. But here's what you must learn to do. Underline these
Zach.
2 words in that key phrase. Take advantage. Underline those 2. You must learn to take advantage of the spring.
Young Zach, I need to come up
See,
with
just
a
because
reason
spring rolls
why I
around,
wear
there's no
it.
sign
I mean,
you're
it's,
going to look good come fall.
there's no
You
real
gotta
reason
do
right now.
something with it. In fact, you have to get good at one of 2 things in life: planting in the spring
I'm
or
painting
begging in
from
the fall.
finish line. Ain't the checker flag
Or
the
get somebody
finish
to do
line?
it for you. See, those are about the only alternatives.
Oh no, I'm gonna come up with a good ass story, Zach.
Now here's what else you must do. Take advantage of the springs quickly,
come up with a
because there's
good-ass
only a
story.
few. Just a handful of
I'm gonna
springs
buy
have been
some of
handed
your
to each
art
of us.
for my dad.
They don't
What's
come
up,
forever.
Davon? Somebody
Life is fairly
just
brief.
bought
So you got to read every book you can get your hands on what to do
my
with your
Slave
springs
Leia
while they're here.
canvas print
And take advantage, they soon
for
run
his
out.
pops. And I was late for
The
his
Beatles
pops'
wrote,
birthday.
"Life is
And I was
so
late shipping it.
short."
He was so mad.
And for
but
John
I was like,
Lennon,
nah,
it was
I got
extra
you,
short.
bro. I'm gonna
But
throw in
life
some
is
extra
brief.
stuff. He was
Elton
like,
John
what?
sings, "She lived her life like
So
a
I put in
candle
like some
in the wind."
keychains and
It's
and
brief.
stickers and stuff.
So whatever you're going to do with your life, you got to get at
Probably
it.
like
Don't just let the
$30,
springs
$40
pass.
worth
pass,
of free stuff.
pass.
So he was like, oh my god.
Here's the third
I
major lesson in life
appreciate
to
that.
learn.
I was like, I got you.
Learn
It's
how
on
to
me.
protect your crops
My
all
bad,
summer.
bro.
You got to take care of what you start.
Yeah, I paid for the man cave.
Sure enough, as soon as you've
Can't wait
planted
to
your
hear the
garden in
story.
the spring,
Nah, it's gonna
The
be
busy
yeah,
bugs
yeah,
and the
yeah,
noxious
on
weeds
why
are out to
I
take
wear
it.
my why I wear my
and
checkered
here's the next
scarf.
bit of truth. They will take
When did
it
I start wearing my checkered scarf?
unless
Was it this year?
you prevent it.
It's 2024.
And that's the third major skill
I don't
to
think
learn.
I wore
You've
it
got
in
to learn to
2023.
prevent the intruder
But I know
from
I
taking
wore.
all the good you
no,
start.
I probably did wear it. In
It's one of the
2023.
challenges.
I did. I have to look back.
Here's two key phrases under number 3. First one, all good will be attacked.
I'm painting from.
On this planet.
finish
Maybe
line.
not the next one we get to, but
That's
on this
gonna
one,
be-
all good will be attacked.
That's gonna be in it.
Every garden will be invaded. Not to think so is naive. And here's the second phrase.
Bro's painting from
All
the finish
values
line.
must
he's
be
already,
defended.
He's already there, boys. He's already there.
Political values, social values, community values, family values, marriage values, friendship values, business values. Every garden
Bro's
must be
painting from the
tended
finish
all
line.
summer. Third major lesson.
How does he do it? 'Cause he said-
Now here's number 4. Fourth major lesson in life to learn. Learn how to reap in the fall without complaint. Learn to reap come harvest time without complaint. Take full responsibility for what happens to you. It's one of the highest forms of human maturity, accepting full responsibility. It's the day you know you've passed from childhood to adulthood, the day you accept full responsibility.
Accept full
And another note,
responsibility.
learn to reap in the fall without
All right,
apology.
appreciate it, Zach. Appreciate
Without
you chilling, brother.
apology if you do well, and without
Ever
complaint
since I've been here, God,
if you
no,
don't.
I had that shit on for a while.
That's maturity. I used to have that long list of reasons why I wasn't doing well. To explain. You
To
got to explain,
explain.
right? Otherwise you're going to look
TikTok
bad.
is ready for me to start another.
I used to have
another
this
piece.
funny list called Reasons for
They're like,
Not
"What are you
Looking
doing?"
Good.
My next piece is another
I used to blame the
bottle
government.
girl. Not holding
I mean,
a
you can
bottle,
believe that
but
or
the
not.
bottle's
It was
on
at the top of
floor.
my list. I had a lecture second to none. The
bottle's
government.
on the floor.
That
It's
was
one
on
of
my
my
list.
old pieces.
I used to
that I
blame
have to
taxes.
fix
Look
up,
what you
just
got
like-
left after they take everything.
Just like this.
And they expect you to do well. That was on my list there.
That was on my list.
Prices, that one's easy, right? You walk into the supermarket with $20, come out with a little half bag. So I had that on my list. I used to blame the weather. I blamed the traffic. I used to
was
blame my
awesome.
car.
What's up, Kevin?
I blamed the manufacturers. I used to blame the company. I blamed company policy. I used to blame the training program.
Training programs. What am I in?
I
Am
blame
I in
my
the art
negative
section
relatives.
on
They were
Twitch?
always putting me down.
Damn.
I blame my cynical neighbors. They're just selfish, looking out for
loan you money?
themselves. Won't loan you money?
They're on my-
They were on my list. I used to blame the economy. I blamed the community. That's a pretty good list for not doing well, isn't it? I thought it was good. I'll never forget one day, Mr. Schoaf was very kind, but he was also very blunt, and this was no exception. And I'm glad he was blunt. There's a lot of things I'd have missed if he hadn't have been blunt. One day, with sort of a curious look on his face, he said, Jim, just out of curiosity, tell me, how come you haven't done well up until now? Excellent question. I thought, well, so I won't look too bad, I'll go through my list. And this list I just gave you, I put that on him. And he was very patient. He let me go through the whole thing, the government, the weather. I went through this whole thing. When I finished, he looked my list over very carefully. He said, Mr. Rohn, big problem with your list. You ain't on it. How brilliant.
I'm here. We can finally get
when I went
get
to work
on
for
with
him a few months
the
later,
stream.
I
That's
learned
funny.
very quickly to tear up my list,
I'm
reasons
here.
for
You
not
can
doing
finally
well,
start.
and
You
I
can
threw
start
it away.
painting now.
And I got me a fresh piece of paper, and I put one word on it.
I'm here. You can start
Me.
painting now, sir.
There's a Black Heritage spiritual that says it's not my mother nor my
It's Friday.
father
I
nor
have
my
to turn
brother
on the
nor my
stream,
sister,
Sabo.
but
It's
it's
Friday.
me,
I
O
have
Lord,
to turn on.
standing in the need of prayer. See, I used to blame everything outside. And then let me give you a little philosophy that helped turn my life around. For your notes, here it is. It's not what happens that determines the quality or the quantity of your life. It's not what happens. And the reason is because what happens to about everybody. No different. The sun went down on all of us last night. A common event, a happening.
A happening.
And I found out that the same things can happen to two different people. One gets rich and one stays poor. Why is that? It's because it's not what
They're not
happens,
using their
but
thinking
rather it's
If you know what that's from.
you do that changes everything.
They're not using their thinking stuff.
So that's a key phrase. It's not what happens, it's what you do. What happens is about the same. You might put that in parentheses here. Same. What people do, that's what's different. Anything can happen, right? Everything can happen. I've heard all the stories. I've been one of the stories. Hey, we could all tell stories
Sabo,
all
you
night long,
started?
right? Happenings. Anything can happen. Have you heard of
What
Murphy's
am I listening
laws?
to? This is
Anybody
Jim
heard
Rohn.
of Murphy's laws?
Jim,
most of you have.
J-I-M, and
Murph
his
had
last
these
name is
laws.
R-O-H-N.
One of them was, if anything
Jim
can go
Rohn.
wrong, it will.
Jim Rohn.
That's one of Murphy's laws. He was not one of the great positive speakers of the day.
Jimmy.
But anyway,
You can
it's
type
still true
in
though, right? Anything can
the
go wrong, everything
challenge
can go wrong.
to succeed.
For sure.
Jim Rohn.
I've fallen out of the sky so many times. Once to the tune of a couple of million. Devastating. Took me a while to survive that one. Now, it wasn't all that much, but it was all I had. Right? I mean, that's when it's much, right? When it's all you got. If you got 3, 2 go, you got 1 left, you ain't looking that bad. But when it all goes. Has anybody been there when it all went? Anybody? Come on, the rest of you liars.
I'm there right now, brother.
Hey, we've all been there, right? When it all went.
When it all went.
Of course, it used to be a long time ago, right? When you ran out of money, got to 0, you were all through. Heck, now you can whistle right on by 0, right? I mean, they will bury you. That's what they will do.
What'd you change it to from Prince?
But see, those are the happenings, right? Everything
you
can
do?
happen. Anything can happen. But it's not the happenings. It's what you do about it. Somebody says, yeah, but you don't understand the disappointments I've
You do a
had.
background and then have
Come
doves on that?
Everybody's
That's
had
already
their
GG's.
share. Disappointments are not special gifts reserved for the poor.
I gave them
Everybody
5
has them.
five
The
mock-ups?
difference is what you do about it.
You gave them 5 looks.
It's not the weather. I used to blame the weather, and
I
I
need
discovered
one. What's up,
it
Husky?
rains on the rich. So see, that won't help. 2 men wake up one morning, there's a rainstorm on. One of them looks out his window, sees the rainstorm, and he says, wow, what a storm. With weather like this, they can't expect you to go out and make sales. He stays home. Same morning, the other guy looks out his window, sees the same storm, says, wow, what a storm. But he says, you know what, with weather like this, what a great day to go out and make sales. Most everybody will probably be home.
Even the sales.
Especially the salesman. See, that's the difference in how your life works out. It's not what happens, it's what you do. So here's one of the key questions of the evening. Starting tomorrow, what are you going to do that'll make a change in your life's direction? Good question. What are you going to do starting tomorrow that'll make a difference?
Oh my God.
Now see, if you don't do something starting tomorrow that'll make a difference, guess what? It's gonna be the same. And see, that way you can guess what the next 5 years are going to be like. Look at the last 5. Because the next 5 are going to be like the last 5 unless you, major key, tomorrow, change it all. Or change a little, or change something, or don't change. It's choice time. You can do whatever you want. But it's nice to know any day you wish you can change your whole life. What can you do starting tomorrow that'll make a difference? Good question. What can you do with economic chaos, massive disappointment? What can you do with a broken heart? What can you do when it won't work? Good question.
I feel like there's supposed to be a... Oh, wait. Damn, that was my Jimmy? Damn, let me turn off, Twitch and then turn on my... Wait, yeah. I already got my YouTube video. So... Or y'all want to listen to one more Jimmy? I already got my YouTube video.
To give you is what I think are the 5 major pieces to the life puzzle.
We'll do one more.
5 major pieces to the life puzzle. If we can study each of the pieces and then put it all together, the chances of it running well are just a lot better. Mr. Shope gave me a simple formula when I first met him, and let me give it to you. He said there's usually about a half dozen things makes 80% of the difference. There's about a half dozen wealth things, about a half dozen health things that can give you the 80% solution to the problem. Then Mr. Shope said, be a student of those half dozen basic things.
What'd you give him? You gave
Pretty
him
good
5
advice.
mock-ups?
Success is not doing extraordinary things. Success is doing ordinary things extraordinarily well.
Ordinary things.
So if you just learn to do it
Ordinary
well,
things, yeah.
key things well, learn to speak well. Poor people can talk and rich people can talk. Looks like rich people talk better. Learning to speak is called survival. Learning to speak well is called success.
That's how I'm going to...
So let me give you what I think are fundamental pieces to life, and we'll take it from there. Here's the first one. Philosophy. Philosophy, in very simple terms, is simply what you know. And what you know greatly affects how your life works out.
Wait.
We might also add what you don't know greatly affects how your life works out. The idea you miss could be the missing number in trying to put the numbers in the lock. So, what you don't know will hurt you, to correct an old cliche. And to correct another one, ignorance is not bliss. Right? It's important to know. It's important to get the information. Now, we do something very important with what we know. We weigh it. That's another good word. We weigh. Weigh everything before you do it, before you buy it, before you try it. Make sure you weigh it. Everything you get ready to do, you got to decide whether it's a major or a minor, and you don't want to give minor things major time. You don't want to give something insignificant significant amounts of your energy.
Now.
So we simply use the phrase weigh before you pay. Sophisticated people learn to weigh everything. And what we all need is a good set of mental scales to weigh everything. What if you got information and your mental scales were off and insignificant things to you were significant? Wouldn't that be a major handicap the rest of your life? When you weighed something, important things weighed unimportant. We would call that a great handicap. So it's very important to weigh everything properly, and that's the reason for sermons and songs and lyrics and lectures and seminars and conversations and professors and teachers. It's one of the reasons why we converse with each other, and we debate, and we think about, and we ponder, and we perceive, and we weigh, and we try to find out where the values are. Because you don't want to proceed and give big chunks of your life to something that's insignificant.
Wait, is this good?
Okay, so we get information, we weigh it, then we come to conclusions about values. Big question in forming your life: where are the values? What is important? What should weigh heavy on my mind, and I should give it significant time and significant energy and significant money? Show said to me, poor thinking habits keeps most people poor. Not poor working habits. Most people work hard, but they don't think hard. They don't use their mind to really try to perceive where the values are so that they don't waste any time. It's easy to spend big chunks of your life on insignificant things. It's one of the major pieces of the life puzzle: what you think about, knowledge, how you weigh it, the conclusions you come to, the values you've perceived, thinking. If you really want to help somebody change their life, you have to start changing their mind, change their philosophy, change how they think. Somebody says, well, just motivation, that'll do. And the answer is no, motivation won't do it. If a guy's an idiot and you motivate him, you got a motivated idiot.
Motivated idiot.
Say, no, that's not what it takes. Now, it's very easy to make errors in judgment. Errors in judgment. I'm now teaching people, even after they're out of school, university, college, they should read at least 1 or 2 books a week.
Audiobooks.
It's easy when you get out of school, right, and get a job to just sort of let that all slide, not keep up the learning process. But if you don't keep up the learning process,
audiobooks,
a lot of values become fuzzy if you don't keep trying to perceive what's important, what's not important. And then start spending
4 or 5 a week.
Major effort on minor things.
It's damn near a habit.
So we have to keep learning. What if a guy spent his book money on donuts?
I mean, it is a habit.
Right. We would call him greatly deprived mentally. In 10 years, the guy's bought 2 tons of donuts and only 2 books, right? Mostly with pictures, right? And he wonders why his life isn't working well. Reason: after he got out of school, he didn't keep up the flow of ideas that can help to refine your business and help to refine your decisions and help you come to better conclusions. You've got to keep up the learning curve, even after you're out of school, to make sure that you're not making errors in judgment.
I feel like I should.
The reason why most people wind up average at age 40 instead of rich is simply an error in judgment about what to do with your money. What would you suggest a 15-year-old start as a plan to do with their money so that by 40 they're rich instead of average? You've got to have a good plan, right? If you start making errors early with your money, those errors can make your life mediocre instead of rich. You wind up with pennies instead of fortune. And you wind up with crumbs instead of a feast, simply because early you made errors on what to do with your money. The guy says, well, it's only $10. So what does it matter what I do with it? And the answer is, that's when it really matters, is when you don't have much. The guy says, oh, if I had a fortune, I'd really take good care of it, but I've only got a paycheck, so I don't know where it goes. We call those great errors in judgment. It's so important to make sure you've got a good plan when the amounts are small. But it's easy to make errors. It's easy not to know. It's easy to miscalculate. And if you miscalculate, some things keep adding and adding and adding. I got a good phrase for you. Life is accumulative. Good phrase to know. Life is accumulative. Our errors either accumulate into what we don't get, or our wise decisions accumulate into what we do get. Now, the key is to correct the errors as early as possible. Fortunately, Mr. Shope caught me at age 25, started asking me major questions. At age 25, he said, Mr. Rohn, how long have you been working? And I said, I've been working 6 years. I started working when I was 19. He said, well, 6 years. How much money have you saved and invested in the last 6 years? I said,
2 books for Gray Boy?
Not any.
Bro.
He said, who sold you on that plan?
I got books. I got ebooks for Gray Boy.
Wow, 6
I'll
years
link
is
'em.
enough time now to check and see if
I'll
you've got a
link 'em.
good financial philosophy.
YouTube
And the time to
books,
catch
YouTube
the errors is
University.
early. So Mr. Shove started asking me those tough questions at age 25. How about your money? How about your resources? How about your investments? And you say, well, I've got plenty of time to worry about that and be concerned about that later. And the
I
answer
think
is
I
probably
put Jason
not.
on
Now's
As a
the
Man
time
Thinking.
to fix it.
As a
Wherever
Man
you hear the
Thinking
good
for sure as
information,
hell.
that's the
I'm gonna
time to
make
start
Jace
fixing
listen
it.
to that like
So we're teaching kids now a
5
good
times.
wealth philosophy. Starting at age 15 will make you wealthy by age 40, 45 at the latest if you're a little
I'm
slow.
gonna make Jace listen to As a Man.
Start doing wise things with your resources. When would you suggest people should do wise things with their resources? Answer, as soon as they get the better information. Now, you can't do what you don't know, but the key is to keep learning so that good ideas keep occurring to you. Now you can do more wise things, okay? But philosophy is where it all begins, what you know. Now, to know wise things, you simply have to study, as you're doing. Keep up the reading, keep up the conversations, keep up the listening to lectures, keep going through the information, keep stashing it away, taking the notes, right? There's no better way to
Way of
adjust
the
your
Peaceful
philosophy
Warrior.
than to have a continual flow of ideas. But that's the first piece of the life
Want
puzzle.
to be scared
Philosophy.
for years? Scared? Nothing's gonna.
Now, here's number
that's
two.
the damn
Philosophy
near
determines attitude.
Don't be scared of anything. Fear
Attitude is simply how you feel.
Twilight
First, what you
eyes.
know sets the sail of your life. Now, how you
Twilight-
feel
you
starts
reading
taking
the-
you there.
Nah,
Attitude.
we gotta read the.
Now, there's all kinds of ways to feel, right? You can feel good or you can feel bad.
What do you call these? Not motivational books, but
Here's one attitude. If this is all they pay, I'm not coming early
I
and
don't
I'm
know.
not
The
staying
As
late
a Man
on the
Thinking.
job.
Is that motivational? No.
That's an attitude, right? If this is all they pay, I don't come
The
early and I
inspirational.
don't stay late.
It's like that. The
Now, do
science
you
of
suppose
getting
that
rich.
attitude, if you carried
That's
it through
another
the
book.
rest of your life, do you suppose that attitude would greatly affect your life
That's a
as the years
crazy book,
unfold?
actually.
The answer is overwhelmingly, of course. Here's another attitude. No matter what they pay, I always come early and I always stay late to invest in my own
It's,
future.
yeah, educational. It's more educational.
Isn't that
More
fascinating?
of subconscious.
Attitude is by choice. You can either choose to
educational.
come
Thinking,
early
more
or
thinking
you can
books.
choose to come late.
Thinking.
You can
Your
either choose
subconscious.
to leave early
Why
or you
are
can
you thinking?
choose to stay late.
Why are you thinking what you're thinking?
Attitude's a matter of choice.
How
Now,
to
to
heal
make wise
yourself
choice,
because
we
of
need
thinking type
educated
shit. Those books.
attitudes. Emotions must go to school
You
to
can
learn
think
where the values
yourself
are.
to a damn miracle.
Okay.
Type shit.
Good phrase. Emotions must go to school.
That's what all these books are.
When kids are young, right? A 3-year-old, falls on the floor and kicks his feet and screams. We say, well, that's okay when you're 3, but it isn't okay when you're 30. Right?
Right? Right?
As a little kid, right, you can retaliate and punch somebody out, but when you're 23, we say, no, you got to learn now to take that emotion and send it to school and find out where the values are. It's okay to feel strong, but you've got to learn to restrain yourself in a society if you want life to go well for you. So attitudes now become a matter of educated choice.
Attitude,
Educated choice.
Bobby Proctor.
But how we feel is going to greatly determine how our life works out.
Read some Bobby. Listen to
Now,
Bobby
it's how you feel
Bob
about a
Proctor.
variety of things. Let me give you that list. Number 1, it's how you feel about the past. Now, when you're young, you haven't got that much past to feel about, but I'm sure you've had some ups and downs. You've had some wins and losses. So part of our attitude is based on how we feel about the past. Some people are still carrying the burdens of the past. They're affected by some difficulties, some losses, whatever. They're carrying it around like a burden. Instead of using the past as a school, they're using it as a threat to their life. So part of it is solving the attitude about the past, how you feel about it. Number 2, it's how you feel about the future. Facing the future, very important, key part of our life. Now, there's 2 ways to face the future. Here they are. 1, anticipation. That's one way to face the future, anticipation. Here's the other way, apprehension. Now, most people face the future with apprehension, primarily because they bought somebody else's view. They don't have their own future well
I
designed.
wonder if that should be dark.
So in the absence of having your own future well designed, you have a
like-
tendency to be persuaded to buy somebody else's future. Here's what's going to happen. Here's what's going to happen. Boy, it's easy to let your days be clouded by all of that. So some days, somewhere along the line, you've got to start settling for sure how you feel about the future. And how you feel about it greatly determines what you do. If you don't feel good about the future by having goals set, you take what we call uncertain steps. It's difficult to be confident about the day if you don't have your future well designed. So here's one of the keys to do about your future. Set goals, write them down, design the future. Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? What do you want to be? What do you want to see? What do you want to have? What do you want to share? Even if it all changes 12 months from now, the key is to start making a list now. The cities you want to visit, the people you'd like to meet.
There it is. There's your
Your
thought
health
process.
goals, your investment goals.
Jimmy
All
Rohn
that
talking about it
stuff,
right now.
start writing it, putting it in a journal somewhere.
Write it down.
And let it all change as time unfolds. Something that you think's very important right now, 2 years from now, you'll say, that was kind of foolish. How come I thought that was so important, right? Because you'll grow beyond that. But right now, it's important to get as clear a picture as you can of the future. Set your dreams, set your goals.
Those are the books
Because
I read
it's
right
important.
there.
How the
Silver.
day
What he just
goes
said.
is greatly
What's up,
determined
Warren?
by
What's up,
your
man?
confidence about the future. Now, here's another attitude. It's how you feel about each other. It's how you feel about society and the community and the country. It's very important.
You know what?
It's not that difficult to be a cynic. And cynicism greatly influences how your life works out. But it's also important to understand that if you want to do well, it takes all of us to help each of us.
Oh,
Good phrase. It takes all of us to help each of us do well. You can't succeed by yourself. It's hard to find a rich hermit. You can't succeed by yourself. You need a market. You need a society. We need each other's ideas. We need each other's collective ideas. Collective participation in the marketplace, society. Okay. So how we feel about each other, very important. Now here's the big one. It's how you feel about yourself. How you feel about yourself. Self-esteem,
long time no
understanding
see.
your
Love
own
this piece.
value.
What's up, Bam? I see you, War.
Boy, if new discovery starts to unfold for you, that
This
you've got
piece
the
is
brains,
popping
you've got
out
the
right
talent,
now
all you need is
because,
instruction, all you need is some coaching, all you need is some help,
Okay with the
all you need is some advice, some experience.
the.
If you're headed down the wrong road, hopefully
floor
somebody's
right
already been down that road where the bridge is out.
It's just
And they come back saying, don't go
You know,
this way
like
anymore.
a
The bridge
shiny
is out.
tile.
So we take somebody else's advice and we say, wow, I'm glad you came along. I'm heading down this road.
It's just like a.
So
shiny
learning from other
tile.
people's experiences, picking up all the ideas so that we can feel good about ourselves. Now, self-esteem primarily comes from engaging in the disciplines that lead to value. Self-esteem comes from engaging in the disciplines that lead to value. We don't lack potential, but to bring value from potential, we need the disciplines. Now, one of the major things that makes us not feel good about ourselves is not engaging in the disciplines. If you keep letting yourself off the hook, or just ho-humming it and letting it all slide, then you don't feel good about yourself. Best is the ant philosophy, right? To feel good about yourself, do your best. Gather all you can during the summer. We call that the ant philosophy. Ants don't settle for half. They go for all you possibly can. Do the best you can.
Yeah, they do.
It's the greatest
Ants?
lift of self-esteem is doing the best you can.
If it's still food there,
Okay.
they're still.
So
around.
attitude
Trying
plays
to
such an
get the
important
damn
part in the
rest of the
5 pieces
They
of the
don't
life
even
puzzle.
stop. Ants are crazy. They're going for the whole spiel.
Now, what's next? Number 3. First is philosophy. Second is attitude. Philosophy and attitude determines activity.
Feels like I messed
Activity
it
is
up
what you
again.
do.
I messed it up again.
Key
What does
phrase,
it look
success is a doing. You actually now have to do it. It seems as though God has designed that the major part of the value of our life is left to our own mental genius. You've got to decide what you want to become. Then you simply have to go do it, engaging in the disciplines. Now, the activity part is so important. How hard should you work when you get ready to labor? When you get ready to try to be successful in the marketplace? How many days should you spend? How hard should you work? Well, let me give you an Old Testament phrase to consider. It says, 6 days activity, 1 day rest. Now that's called a philosophy on activity.
6 days activity is insane.
Right? What should be the ratio of rest to activity? Old Testament suggests 6:1. Now I know that goes back a long ways. Some people said, no, 6:1's old-fashioned. 5:2 is better. Well, you got to take a look at 5:2 and see if it's okay.
You right,
You don't just want to buy somebody's philosophy without seeing if it leads to fortune and if it leads to unique things. Wonderful, it's probably
listen
good.
to this stuff in their 20s right now, and now they're fucking,
Would,
you know,
4:3 be
those
better?
are the millionaire kids.
I don't know. You got to check everything.
Switch to YouTube.
I do know this. Good phrase. Don't rest too
Those
long.
are, and then there's the 30-somethings
I
that
got a good
listen
point
to,
for you. Make
to Jim
rest
Rohn,
a
Bob
necessity,
Proctor,
not an objective.
Les Brown, and they're
The
starting
objective
businesses.
of
And then
life is
there's
not to rest.
the
The objective of
40-year-olds
life
that,
is to
you know,
accomplish, to growth,
we
full
about
growth,
to
full
get in
accomplishment. Test the outer limits of your
Start-
abilities.
start some real
That's what
shit.
life is all
I mean,
about.
it's
See
just
what all you can do. That's what life is all about.
learning new
See
shit.
what you can do with the seasons
But
and the
the
soil and the
kids, the
seed. See what you can do with
20-somethings
your brain. See what you can do
that-
with your
that are
talent and your
lucky
gifts and
enough
your
to,
skills. That's what life's all about. See what you
even
can do.
find Jim
Now, we
Rohn
need rest, but you must
and,
make rest
Bob
a necessity, not an objective.
Like imagine if I was
If you make it an objective, you
20
start
and
falling into what we call the average
found-
syndrome.
Mama put me on, Papa
Right?
put me
People
on.
who live
that'd be
mediocre lives
insane.
are always looking forward to getting off.
That'd be insane.
Successful people are always
We
looking forward to
damn near
getting
didn't
on.
have motivational nothing
Successful people don't
coach.
want off. They want on.
back in the day.
They want to get on with the job.
These kids
They rest
nowadays-
only enough to gather strength.
They
So
got it.
consider that in your argument, in your debate on how hard should you work. Let me give you another Bible philosophy. My parents made sure I was a pretty good scholar by the time I was 18. And I'm an amateur on the Bible. But
Yeah,
here's another good
imagine
philosophy.
they put us on
Whatever
Earl
your hands
Nightingale.
currently find to do, do it with
Earl
all your might.
Nightingale back in the day, and he's
Whatever
an
you're
OG.
doing, do
But
it with
we
all
would've
your might.
never, you know,
We call that philosophy on
who
activity.
would have told me about
How hard
Earl
should you
Nightingale
work?
back in the day?
As hard as you can in the time allotted to labor.
Who would have told me?
In leadership, management, lectures we teach. When you work, work. When you play, play. Don't play at work. And don't work at play. Right? Make best use of your time. When you're working, pour it on. And when you're playing, have a good time. But don't play at work. Okay?
He's trolling.
So, activity,
He was
very
doing these
important
speeches
piece
for,
in this whole life puzzle in working. So, you've got to
Herbalife.
test how hard you can work. Part of it is physical, your own physical limitation. Some people can take 14 hours, no problem. Some people 10 stretches pretty much their physical limitation. So everybody
Am
has
I
to
going
sort
to
of decide
DreamCon?
how
I
hard you
am
can
not,
work, how much time
honey.
you can put in. When you come to
I
university,
am not.
right, you got to sort
DreamCon?
of
Where's DreamCon?
find out how much
I
workload
hear
you
about
can handle,
DreamCon
how
all
many
the
classes
time.
can you go through, how much
Where
can
is
you
DreamCon?
unravel, how
Is
many
that
study hours do you need, how much
Florida?
effort have you got, when are you going to run out of gas, right, and you need to replenish the supply. So we all have to study our own activity habits. But let me give you what I think is the best philosophy. It is simply do the best you can.
I do need to do more
In activity, we call it doing your
more out of my
best.
state cons though.
A man asked me one time, he said, I'm making about
I'm stuck on my
$50,000 a year. Isn't that enough? What would you tell somebody? A businessman said to me. He said, my kids aren't starving, and he said, I got my bills paid, and he said, we're doing pretty good, and I'm making about $50,000 a year. Isn't that enough? He asked me. What do you suppose I told him? I said, yes, it's enough if it's the best you can do. We don't call an amount enough. We call your best enough.
Tony Robbins.
I said, if you're capable of making $500,000 a year and you make $50,000 a year, we call you a loser. And we don't call you loser because of the difference between $50,000 and $500,000. We call you loser because you're not doing your best.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure we heard. But Tony
If
Robbins.
you do your best and you make $10,000 a year, that's enough.
I'll have to go
If you
listen.
do your best and you make $1 million a year, that's
enough.
enough.
To Tony Robbins on here.
Enough is not the
before, too.
difference between 10,000 and $1 million.
I'll
Enough
have to
is
listen to
simply
his philosophy.
doing the best you can.
see what he talking
So
about.
that's the key to the good life. When the day is finished, if you say, did I do my best? And if I'm not doing my best, why not? Have I got some errors in my philosophy that says, hey, half effort's okay, just slide by, ho-hum it, cross your fingers and everything will work out, hopefully. Say, no, I don't want to take those kind of chances. I don't want to drift. Okay? So activity. Just put a big question mark on activity and say, here's a major piece of life to keep checking.
You went to YouTube
Make sure I'm
when
doing my best. That's
somebody
all I
came
require,
to
my best.
Twitch, Savo?
A group of psychiatrists asked me to come and lecture for them in Los Angeles one time, which I thought was interesting, since I only went to 1 year
I'm
college.
gonna turn off my Twitch and go to
And then in the middle of my lecture, I had the
in
audacity to say, ladies and
10
gentlemen, let me tell you what I
15
think
minutes.
most messes with the mind.
Ish.
They said, what do
If
you
y'all
think
are
most
on
messes
now.
with the mind? I said, I think what most messes with the mind is simply doing less than you can. It sets up all kinds of psychic problems, doing less than
Oh,
you can.
the ads are annoying.
Guess when you really
Lord
feel
have
good about
mercy.
yourself? When you've done the best you can.
I don't understand those
You
ads.
don't even have to
I
win the
left
full price if
a
you do the best you
stream
can.
on
We call
Twitch
that the
too
ultimate winning,
because of
doing
the
the
ads,
best you can.
Savo. It
Wow,
made me feel
there's
like he was
nothing like
turning
the
on the
soaring
ads. You know what I'm saying?
self-confidence that comes from putting out what we call
I
full
thought
effort.
Buddy was turning
in
on the
whatever
ads.
you do. It's
Like it
called
was coming
full
up
effort.
ads. Like 2-3 minute ads.
Philosophy,
I'm like,
activity,
Twitch, how do
attitude
people even
leads to
stay
number
on
4,
your platform?
results. And that's what life is
I'm
all
not
about.
staying here.
Putting the
I was
first 3
out, I'm
together.
out.
Good philosophy,
I'm out.
attitude, high activity to get the ultimate called results.
Well, honey, if you
I got a
ask,
good phrase for you.
if
Results
you got an ad
is the
while you
name
ask me
of
for
the game.
DreamCon,
Now, the challenge of life is a
I'm
very
not
simple
gonna-
phrase.
I
Let me
don't
give it
even-
to you.
I gotta
think you'll
figure
find
out
it
where
interesting
DreamCon is, if
to at
that's
least
Florida
ponder.
or not.
The
But
challenge
no,
of
I'm
life is
not
to
gonna
make
make it.
measurable progress in reasonable time.
I've never been.
Measurable progress in
Honey Mark.
reasonable time. First, we don't want to be unreasonable with time.
Yeah, them ads. Ugh.
If you and I agree to do something, 5 minutes later I'm asking you, how are you doing? You say, I haven't left the building yet. You can't ask in 5 minutes. 5 minutes is too soon. That's unreasonable. Now, if I don't ask you for 5 years, we call that too late. You can't wait 5 years, and you can't go 5 minutes, right? We all have to learn what is reasonable time to expect somebody to make progress, to grow, to change, to develop. So all of us have to learn, especially if you're going to become leaders, entrepreneurs, if you're going to have management responsibilities and work with people, you got to understand what is reasonable time. We don't want to be unreasonable with time. But here's what else we expect: measurable progress in reasonable time. How many years should the child spend in 4th grade?
1 year, fool.
Approximately.
They were laughing.
About 1. You say, well, if they're nice kids, would you give them 3 or 4? You say, no, you can't spend 4 years in 4th grade. It's unacceptable.
It's unacceptable.
We put on the family
What's up,
pressure.
Jamie?
We put on peer
Jamie,
pressure.
what up? I
Right?
see
We
you,
put
Jay
on all
Stacks.
kinds of pressure. You can't spend 4 years in 4th grade.
What up, Jamie?
Now, wouldn't that be interesting if we applied the same kind of social pressure all of our lives?
Okay, let me turn off.
What would be
Twitch.
acceptable to society for
I'm on my
wise
Kick.
investments to have been
Kick.com.
made by age 30?
Kick.com/Jeremy Wars.
So that you can really properly take care of yourself and your family. Somehow we've missed those
I'm turning
standards,
off
right?
YouTube too.
Shouldn't it be
Save
popular
up.
to be wealthy by age 40? And shouldn't we look at somebody who by age 45 is not at least financially independent saying, where have you been? Tibet?
Wait, what?
Bangladesh you probably have spent. You mean you've been here all this time?
Jeremy, you will have a blessed stream. Appreciate
Right?
it,
Shouldn't
Jay
we
Stacks.
make it
I
a
see you,
bit
brother.
unacceptable not to be
Appreciate you,
well
brother.
off in
Young
what we
brother
call
Jay
reasonable
Stacks.
time? But what if a guy spent his potential fortune
I'll
on
have to go
non-essentials from age 15 to age 45?
In a minute.
Shouldn't we call that unacceptable? Shouldn't teenagers ask their parents, how come we're not rich?
How
We
come
live
we're
in a
not
rich country.
Rich,
This
Mom,
is America.
Dad,
Aren't those good questions?
Pops.
How about the wisdom of a good plan versus a poor plan?
All right, I'm on.
What if a man was a farmer
Kick.
and he ate his seed corn? Instead of planting it, he ate it. Wouldn't we make arrangements to go get his children
Damn.
and say The kids aren't safe. The man's insane. He eats his seed corn. He doesn't
Wait,
plant
who's
it.
on my
Wow.
YouTube?
I just offer that
Somebody
as
else on my
kind of
YouTube?
an interesting question. If we make such
No,
pressure
I'm
demands
going to kick.
for 4th grade, why shouldn't we make those same pressure demands for the rest of life? Interesting question, right? Good debatable question. Now, part of it is society eases back on us as far
Because
as
of
ongoing
taxes.
demand of results. But here's what I'd ask you to do. Make the
Appreciate
demands on yourself.
Appreciate that heart, me, brother.
I'm asking you not to let yourself off the hook. Society will let you get by with far less than you want to be.
Society.
When you get out of university, how many books will the community demand that you read every month? Approximately. About none. So if you're going to do the extra reading, guess what? You've got to develop that philosophy and put that pressure on yourself.
Where's my kick chat?
But what I'm asking you to do is take a good look at results. Now, another reason why we look at results at age 25.